All right, so Colin, so why did you choose to work with these beans? What made them really compelling for you?
Well, there was another bar made with these several years ago by a famous Swiss manufacturer called Falcon, and they made this bar called Cru Sauvage, which is kind of really well known in the chocolate sphere, and they had this. Basically, it was proprietary. They had some sort of an arrangement with the people producing the cacao there. They were the only company in the world that was working with it. And so just recently it's opened up. We just thought it would be really fun to be the first company in the United States to work with that cacao. So we spent about a year trying to get the guy to get back to me. And finally got samples, and we actually managed to bring the stuff in, which is, if you want to talk about how difficult it is on their end of the field, getting it from the middle of the Bolivian Amazon to the U.S. is another thing. So we had to air freight it, which was very difficult, very costly. Timing needs to be right, and it also has to go. We have to go by boat and bus, possibly mule as well, in order for it to get just to the port. So it's I don't know. It was kind of fun. It's a unique story. What I really like about this cacao is that, first of all, it's wild. It's a type of genetics that is not commonly marketed, and so it helps to express to people that it doesn't have to be necessarily. Traditionally, people have thought of it as like just three different types of cacao, and then only one of them was good. And what we're finding out is that the story is a lot more complicated. So this is kind of a really fun way of expressing that. And furthermore, because this is out in the middle of the jungle, there's not a lot of other economic activity. So one of the things that's great about this is that by farmers, or well, not farmers, but people basically working with the cacao there, they're getting value in a sustainable way out of the forest, which to me is one of the best ways of incentivizing people not cutting down the forests so that they can do other things. So it seems like a pretty sustainable way of educating consumers and at the same time helping people on the ground.
Right. So did you request a sample before you committed to buying a bunch of these, and did you work with them and find them really flavorful, or did you just you had tasted the Cru Sauvage by Felchlin and then decided to bring in the beans? How did that work?
Well, we tasted the Cru Sauvage, and then I got samples. Actually, the guy who's down there was an agronomist for many years, and he works in a bunch of different areas. And so this was the stuff that we got is from just one area of Bolivia. And of all the samples I got, it was the one that I liked the best. It's the only one that's wild of the ones that I got, but I still liked it the best, and I thought it was really the most interesting. So, yeah, we do. When we get a sample, we do things like we look externally, and then we cut open the seeds so that we can see, sort of what's going on inside, and that tells you a little bit about quality. But then in the end, we do roasts and tastings and things like that. And once we've done roasts and all that stuff, we felt like this is a pretty unique cacao. It has flavors of like plum in there. There's a little bit of banana. There's a little bit of floral, and all the seeds are kind of different. Each bean has a little bit of different flavor. Some of them are very mild. Some of them can have really strong fruit. Some of them can have some of these banana flavors. Some of them, like the occasional one, have these crazy floral flavors. And it sort of blends together in this sort of crazy way to make these very interesting flavors. But some of these seeds, you break them open and they smell like citronella or something. It smells like orange. It's crazy.
Wow.
My girlfriend was working with me, and I broke open a seed, and I had her smell it, and she was like, "Is there orange on your hand, or what is that?" She couldn't believe that. We've worked with a lot of cacao, but I've never had anything quite like that, so it was pretty interesting.
So, how would you say you touched a little bit on the genetics and the sort of the old classification system and our new understanding of how much more broad it is, but how would you say in terms of flavor this might compare with some of the more common stuff that people may have tasted?
I would say that this is probably the closest to some of the Ecuadorian stuff, in terms of the profile, and it's probably closest to that in terms of the genetics. It's basically they actually used to call it cacao nacional boliviano, but now they call it cacao silvestre, and they also call it cacao beniano. There's a few different names for it. So, yeah, I would say closer to Ecuadorian. It's basically, if you're going to go with the old classification system of Forastero, it is a Forastero, but it's a lower Amazon Forastero. It has some pretty unique characteristics as a result. First being the small pods. Also, the seeds have more cocoa butter than other seeds do, so that changes the texture a little bit, makes it a little different to work with. Yeah,